raising our donations because we're all working on campaigns or running our jobs or the 800 other things we're doing. So if you have a few dollars you'd like to throw our way to keep our lights on, we would appreciate it. You can do that either through a Rumble rant or a super chat, or you can just give us a donation at our website. Or even better, if you would like to sponsor us, we would appreciate that. We are currently seeking businesses or candidates or people. If you'd like to do a reoccurring donation, we give you lots and lots of shout outs and look for a partnership with you in the future to help us keep our pretty, pretty lights on. So, which they are blue, I think, tonight. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the intro. What you got, guys, before we get into... so tonight's episode, once we kind of get into the meat of what we're doing, is a little different than we normally do. Normally, it's a very free-flowing conversation.
Well, we were supposed to have Sam Stern on tonight.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Thank you. We were supposed to have Sam Stern on tonight, but he had to reschedule to October... 17th. I was like 19th, but today's the 19th. October 17th. Thank you. So October 17th is going to be Sam Stern. So yes, we're supposed to have Sam Stern on tonight. And a couple of our other candidates that we've asked to come on all already had stuff booked. It's a very busy season for our candidates, so shout out. You guys keep doing what you're doing. So we thought we would take tonight to discuss a little bit more in depth the amendments. We've talked about Amendment 3 and 4 that are going to be on the ballot. So we'll break those down a little bit more as well tonight, but also the rest of them. We're getting a lot of questions from people just out and about. Why are we voting for this one way or the other? So we want to give you a little bit more information, open it up for conversation if people have any comments, questions, or concerns in the chat. And we're going to do this in segments as well. We're going to introduce the first one and go through them in numbers so that we can later on, we're going to cut the episode into segments so you can share them with your family and friends. So if you have people who are asking you specifically about an amendment and how, some more information about it, you can just give them a little segment of the show. I mean, obviously, we'd appreciate if they watch the whole thing, but we understand that that's not always doable, and it might be easier to send over a small segment related to just one subject.
And can I share?
Yes.
The announcement about like the freebie, the swag, the locals.
Yes.
We created an amendment guide for our viewers and our followers, and you can find it on our website, WeTheLocalsPodcast.com. If you look at the top of the website in the menu bar, there's an amendment guide link. If you go to that link, there is a downloadable PDF on that page. And inside of that PDF, we've got all 6 of the state amendments, and then we've got one each of the Palm Beach County and the Broward County amendments, or referendums, I think they call them. On there, we have the link to the full text for each on there, and then we kind of have a short blurb at the bottom, like a yes vote means this, a no vote means that for each one of the amendments. So I kind of wish I could have put a little bit more, kind of like the ballot summary, what you're going to actually see when you go to the voter booth or when you get your vote by mail ballot in the mail. But you can only fit so much on one page.
Yeah, we're trying to make it so if you want to print it off and hand it to your family or friends or anything like that, you can do that. So
yes.
Thank you, Abby, for doing that.
Yes,
she was
thank you.
The brilliant brains behind putting that together. So
I know that I like having guides, to kind of research.
A little bit more than just why, yes or no.
Yes.
I mean, not just why. A little bit more than just yes or no. It's to know why.
And also, we'll get into this as we go into each one's, but it's super important to actually read the language of the text.
Yeah,
because on some of these, because what it says and what it does not say is super important when it comes to these are going, especially the Florida ones. These are going to be enshrined in our Florida state constitution.
These are law. These are law.
They cannot be overturned.
No.
They can't be legislated. You can't pass statutes that overturn these. This is the will of the voter.
You have to then do another constitutional amendment
to undo it.
To undo it.
Yeah, so it's big, which is why all of them take 60%, right? All of them are supermajority ones?
Yes, supermajority vote.
60% of the state. So not just Palm Beach County or Broward counties. So before we get into them, though, does anybody have any quick updates or conversations or any comments, questions, things we want to get into? Or should we?
I made it successfully through my first budget season as a commissioner. We concluded with our final hearing last night. Thank you, Stu.
Sorry, a little slow.
Slow on the draw there, Stu.
There was a lot of work put in. I mean, it started, the administration started back in February. We had our budget workshop in June, and we had, 3 different hearings? Two hearings on the budget and the millage rates this month, and then another hearing for all of the special assessments. So it was a lot of work, but
You survived.
It's important, and as
It's important
today's,
work.
as today's weather evidence, we definitely need to do a lot of stormwater improvements in town.
My gosh, this weather is crazy.
It is.
It's a little nuts. Yeah, I know Boca is having their budget hearing. I think their final one next week. I just got an notification that
Get in right for the buzzer, huh?
and they always do. I feel like there's always like, oh, we have until September 30th. We'll do it the 29th. Yeah, theirs is like coming in. So yeah, I got the notification that the agendas are available. So definitely, if you live in the city of Boca, take a look. I don't know when the other cities. I'm sure they're all either passed or passing this week or next week. So budgets are fun. Yeah. All right, I guess we'll jump into it, right? So
We've got a few people already in the chat.
All right, hi everyone.
We got Diana Taub in the southwest part of the Broward County, and then we have
Welcome.
Jack from Boca.
Hi, Jack. Thank you.
He's super excited to hear about all the amendments tonight.
Awesome.
And Diana's commenting about, some of the misinformation being spread about Amendment 4 and how, there's that one story that's in the news right now about the woman in Georgia.
Yes, we just heard that today.
Gosh, I haven't heard the whole thing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so when we get to Amendment 4, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start, though, nice and light with Amendment number 1.
Let me get my cheat sheet up.
Get your cheat sheet. I got my cheat sheets. Abby was so nice to print it for me because my printer ran out of ink. Which she didn't know because she just printed it knowing that we would probably
I was like,
need
let
it.
me just print off 3 copies of these just in case so we have them in front. Except that my printer ran out of paper and I didn't realize the 3rd copy got cut off.
I have no ink. You have no paper.
That's okay. We'll figure it out.
All right. So who wants to read number 1?
What are we reading?
You want to just read the
ballot summary?
Yeah, the summary.
I'll read it.
Okay.
So Amendment 1 is partisan election of members of district school boards. The ballot summary is proposing amendments to the state constitution to require members of a district school board to be elected in a partisan election rather than a nonpartisan election, and to specify that the amendment only applies to elections held on or after the November 2026 general election. However, partisan primary elections may occur before the 2026 general election for purposes of nominating political party candidates to that office for placement on the 2026 general election ballot. So a yes vote on Amendment 1 would make school board elections partisan, so you have to disclose the party that you're running under. A no vote would keep school board elections nonpartisan.
All right. Thoughts?
Well, I'm curious on if so if it's a no, then it just stays
nonpartisan, like municipals.
Right, but then does that mean for like Palm Beach County, it's still in August?
Yes, it would keep it in August. It has to so that they can have a runoff in November if they need it. That's why they're in August.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But if Amendment 1 passes, then primaries would be held if necessary in August, and then the parties would square off on the general ballot.
So, like, for example, based off of this if this had already been passed and it applied in this cycle, we would have had, because there were 5 people running in District 5, so there would have been 3 on the Republican ballot and 2 on the Democrat ballot, and then whoever, which is essentially what's happening.
Yeah.
We're essentially having like a runoff head to head of different worldviews.
But in the case of Broward, that was not the case. You had, I think, all but one district had 2 candidates, and they were from opposing sides of the aisle. So those would have gone directly to the November ballot, and theoretically more people would come out to vote.
Right. So that's like the plus and minus that so here's the thing. This is my thoughts. A lot of the things that are done in local government, even in state government, a lot of the things in state government are nonpartisan. There are very partisan things, obviously, in state government, but there are things like getting roads, appropriations for roads, or getting insurance fixed, or all these different things. There are several things that are kind of nonpartisan.
Yeah.
And the closer and lower you get, the more nonpartisan stuff is.
It should be.
Should be. Even county commission, a lot of the votes that they take are nonpartisan. If you look at the history of the voting of the county commissioners right now, there's 4 Republicans and 3 Democrats, and they vote they all mix it up. Like they vote with each other, against each other. They'll vote with each other on one vote and against each other on another vote, both sides. There's not a lot that makes it very, very partisan. There is more like, I want to say probably more conservative mindsets versus more like let's save money, let's not do this, versus the more like, let's fund all the programs. But overall, it's not. And same thing for school board, shouldn't be. But it's become so cuckoo bananas that I think we kind of need to.
Well,
right?
I think it doesn't. I think it allows them to be like under a cloak. You know, it's like
They can kind of hide their true beliefs.
You know, they can be way left but talk way right to get our votes, and then when they get in there, then they destroy the school board. So, I go back and forth on this, and my biggest thing is I just think everything should be partisan at this point. Just lay it out there. If you align with a party, great. If not, then be an NPA.
Yeah. I mean, you could run as an NPA, and then in theory, there could be 3 people on the ballot in November.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Oh, so then that poses a question. If there's 3 people on the ballot in November,
they're going to have to do winner
take all. It'll have to be
winner take all.
Just like in any other race, if there was a third party on the ballot.
I'm torn about for municipal elections, like they're kitchen table issues. And people always ask, regardless, when you knock on someone's door, well, are you a Republican or are you a Democrat? And like, well, I'm not really supposed to say, but I am a precinct committee woman for the Republican Party of Broward County. Everybody knows
I'm the treasurer.
If you want to know.
So, like, I'm torn because, like, looking back at the August primary, everybody knew who the Republicans running for school board were.
Yeah.
Everybody knew that the union was working vehemently against all of them. And I don't know if making them partisan really makes a difference until we break up the monolith that is the Broward Teachers Union.
Well, all teachers unions, really. I agree.
Well, I think it helps the voters more than anything to stay non-committal to, like, educating themselves, because it just makes them easier to vote. If they're a Republican, they're just gonna see, like, oh, who's the Republican, and
do you think that people who are more incognito in the school board races, who are Republican in more Democrat heavy areas, it will out them so that now they'll never? I mean, it's not really happening because we're not getting Republicans elected anyway. So I don't know. That was a lot of roses I had. But
so Jack from Boca says, if the school board races were partisan, I think that the district in Western Palm Beach County probably would have flipped in 22. I don't know which district that.
Maybe one?
No, one is on the ballot now, isn't it? Which district is it, Jack?
He said the candidate's name lost to Marsha Andrews at the same time that Sarah Baxter and DeSantis and Rubio won.
Silvestri and
So the Moms for Liberty, or
the lady. No, Angelique ran in a different district.
Oh, okay.
He's talking about district. I know which district he's talking about. You're right.
6.
District 6. Thank you, Stu. Yeah, District 6. Yeah, because that went into a runoff between not Silvestri, the other.
So she lost in the primary.
Silvestri lost in the primary. It went to a runoff between one of the other moms from the same group.
Okay.
Why'd
they run against each other?
Why does anybody run against each other?
I mean, I don't know. Our last guest on the show.
I don't know how to. That would take a psychologist degree to answer that one. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But they went to a runoff. In Los Angeles. Yes, that's a good point. So, I mean, we're not. I think the whole point of this is we're really not going to tell you how to vote. We're really just give you the information and take our conversation and meandering thought processes to your consideration.
Yeah, and just for those, if you're wondering, the RPOF, the Florida Republican Party, is saying to vote yes on Amendment 1. So
we always agree with what the
no, we don't. We don't. I'm just saying for reference and information, because it does have to go through committee, and they do have to talk about it in order to get their recommendations out there. So
I
mean, it's not like they're doing it,
willy-nilly
pulling, yes
numbers
or no's
out of a hat. Oh, that's a visual. Like a bingo thing.
So these have been discussed. They should have went through committee in order to get their approved language to be able to go out on all of these amendments. So those that are curious.
Yeah. All right.
So
anybody else have any
Jennifer Showalter was that?
Showalter.
I remember her.
I knew that was going to bug you.
She
for the rest of the night.
She came to locals for Liberty. I think
she might have. Yes.
I know we had a few of the candidates come through back in 22.
22 is off the chain.
No, that's most of the Amendment 1 comments. We've got all of them.
Yeah. So we should move on. Anybody? Do you guys have any more? Anyone else?
I think
no. All right. Moving on. Amendment 2. Jessica.
The right to fish and hunt. The ballot summary says proposing an amendment to the state constitution to preserve forever fishing and hunting, including the use of traditional methods as a public right and preferred means of responsibility managing and controlling fish and wildlife. What is that word?
Specifies
that the amendment does not limit the authority granted by the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission under Section 9. A yes means that the right to fish and hunt is a constitutional right in Florida, and a no would make them a constitutional
Would not make
it a constitutional right.
So I think when they talk
read
about
No reading? I'm not letting you read
I
anymore.
think that when they talk about traditional methods, that does not include dynamite.
Oh, I was like, are we like trapping? Like, are we bow and arrow?
I think it's more guns and probably bow and arrow.
Guns, bow and arrow, fishing rods,
Traps.
traps. Yeah, but like not dynamite. Not.
We're not throwing sticks of dynamite in the fishing hole.
I don't know. Probably. That
Darn.
Willie E. Coyote type styles.
probably doesn't include like like commercial fishing, like the big nets, the drag nets, and that kind of stuff.
Oh.
Let me see if there's
So does this? Do you? Okay, so don't you have to have a permit or a license to hunt
Yes.
yes.
And fish.
and fish? Would this take that out, or is it saying no because it doesn't because that's granted by the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, so therefore they can still require that? Because if it's
I'm
a
looking at
right-
the amendment. I'm looking at the text.
Yeah.
The full text right now.
Because my thought process is if it's a
No.
right, then why would you need to pay to get a permit
But
to
the
get a license?
license is to, I believe the license is so that you can only get so much.
Yeah. Typically, like a
the
hunting
doe,
license.
You can only get one during
Yeah.
part of the season, and a buck.
And
you can
they
only get
punch
one.
it.
No, I know why they have the license. I'm asking if this would remove the license.
No,
if it's a
because it
right-
doesn't limit the authority of the
Okay,
Fish and Wildlife.
So if they still say no,
Commission.
we are one. Okay, because I mean, like, if it's a right, do you pay for your right?
I think
to
I think
exercise
what
your
this
rights?
I think what this amendment is aiming for is like things are good here in the state now. We have a lot of freedoms and like all this stuff is allowed. But what if some crazy leftist legislature gets elected years down the road and they try to outlaw fishing and hunting and they try to like regulate it out the wazoo so you can't do it.
That's a good point.
So this
And from what I understand, that this is exactly how this came about, was that there was a lot of other states that have something like this in their constitution of a right to hunt and fish, to be able to live off the land, so to speak, so that you're not beholden to the government.
eat the bugs.
Eat the fish and the chickens.
And so I know that this, based on, interviews or whatever that I watched regarding this, is that this is just to, keep this as it is and to make sure exactly like what you said, that, somebody can't come in and say like, oh, we're banning all, in my theory would be that they come in and they're going to say, oh, we're going to ban hunting, so you don't need guns anymore because there's no hunting. So
Get pried out of my cold legless hands.
What guns? I lost them in a fishing accident. I was fishing out on the boat one day. How many guns? I don't know what you're talking about. No, I was fishing with my legal fishing.
Right. So if you want to protect your rights to hunt and fish, you may want to vote yes on Amendment 2.
Okay.
I like the meme. There was a meme, a guy standing there giving the guy his license. Yes, I would like to have the right to hunt and fish for my family so I can feed them because prices of food is way too high.
Yeah.
What's cheaper? Is it cheaper to get a hunting license? All right. Moving on. Amendment 3. Adult personal use of marijuana allows adults 21 years or older to possess, purchase, or use marijuana products and marijuana accessories for non-medical personal consumption by smoking, ingestion, or otherwise. Allows medical marijuana treatment centers and other state licensed entities to acquire, cultivate, process, manufacture, sell, and distribute such products and accessories. Applies to Florida law. Does not change or immunize violations of federal law, establishes possession limits for personal use, allows consistent legislation, defines terms, provides effective date. All right, so here's the summary. The amendment's financial impact. Oh, yeah. The amendment's financial impact primarily comes from expected sales tax collections. If legal today, sales of non-medical marijuana would be subject to sales tax and will remain so if the voters approve this amendment. Based on other states' experiences, expected retail sales of non-medical marijuana would generate at least $195.6 million annually in state and local sales tax revenue once the retail market is fully operational. Although the timing of this is occurring is unclear. That's what they're telling us. But we don't know when this will happen and if this will really happen. Under current law, the existing statutory framework for medical marijuana is repealed 6 months after the effective date of this amendment, which affects how this amendment will be implemented. So we don't know. A new regulatory structure for both medical and non-medical use of marijuana will be needed. Its design cannot be fully known until the legislature acts. However, regulatory costs will probably be offset by regulatory fees. Other potential costs and savings cannot be predicted. This proposed constitutional amendment is estimated to have a net positive impact on the state budget. This impact may result in generating additional revenue or an increase in government services. So, I love how they're selling it to us as like, you're going to get money through
I was just gonna
giant
say
corporate takeover.
So the carrot is $195.6 million.
And it's going to increase government services, exactly what we need. Bigger government. So, Abby, you originally, a few episodes ago, brought up a little bit of history on how this bill and who is sponsoring this bill.
Do you want to? Yeah, I'm looking. I'm actually pulling up the initiatives and amendments database because they always show the sponsor of each of these initiatives on the. So the actual sponsor is Smart and Safe Florida.
Oh, right.
But True Leave, I think, has put $70 million.
I heard 86.
$80 million into Smart and Safe Florida.
Yeah.
Why?
Well,
tell us, Abby, why? Why would True Leaf spend $86 million to try to get this passed?
Because
if it's going to give the government so much money.
It's going to give them so much money.
Exactly. Oh.
That's not in the text.
They don't say that.
If you look at who owns the majority of the state licenses for this, for the medical marijuana, I believe, it is mainly True Leaf.
Surprise.
Because in accordance to this is it will make it easier to switch over the framework from medical marijuana to recreational.
Well, you don't need a license for recreational.
No, but it's already established.
Okay.
So because True Leaf is already established and has basically, 3 in every down, that then they're already set up to be able to say like, hey, we already have the
infrastructure.
So now we can be the ones to roll out the recreational use.
Which means also, so like in other states where this is legal, I think a lot of them have that you can grow it yourself like any other plant of like a small amount.
That is not included in this amendment.
That is not included in this amendment.
Not included.
Other companies will not be able to come in. Only True Leaf.
Correct.
Right?
From what I understand, yes.
So that means if we pass this as a state, our huge mass amount of revenue that is coming to us from the state will be coming from sales through one corporation, which gives them tons of control in this state. That means they're going to run politicians to get other things they want. That means it's going to tie up our politicians to have to deal with the fallout of this in legislature, writing bills, all kinds of stuff.
And there's a lot of people saying that they're not going to be able to regulate this through legislation.
Correct.
They're not going to be able to ban public smoking
because of the fact that this goes into the Constitution.
Yeah.
So our
it basically makes smoking marijuana a constitutional right, just like fishing and hunting.
Correct.
It equates smoking marijuana with fishing and hunting. Holy moly!
If that passes, if either of them,
either of them pass, but that's what they're trying to sell us.
Or like the Second Amendment or free speech, you
have the right to
on a state level. It
smoke a
equates
doobie.
Smoking joints.
So basically, if you have a homeless problem and they're smoking marijuana outside of your business or apartment or your house or whatever, there is really nothing you can do about it.
And I mean.
And it doesn't mean that it, that it can only be in vape where you can't smell it. Like this is flour. This is the stinky stuff.
All of it, the skunky smell.
Skunk weed.
It would not be good. Like, okay, if you're at Disney You go to Disney. I don't know. I haven't been to Disney in 1,000 years. I doubt they are allowing people to, even with medical licenses, to be wandering around smoking pot. You're at Disney. You're out with your kids. There's nothing prohibiting someone from standing right next to your kids smoking this within. They're breathing in the secondhand. They're getting contact high is a real thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing prohibiting that from happening.
And the one thing that I was amazed to find out about this is that it would make Florida the #1 grower in the world, and it would make Florida the #1 seller in the world.
Is that really the reputation we want to have, guys? Is that with Florida man and biggest pot dealer in the world?
I think for those that are interested in having recreational use, to become legal, it really needs to go through the state legislature, and there needs to be, clear confinements and clear definitions, and no smoking in public places. Be 21. I actually think that it should be 25 and older because the brain needs to be fully developed.
It doesn't say anything here about prohibiting smoking and driving.
Nope.
How are they going to again, anytime? So it doesn't mean the legislature won't be able to try to pass laws, but now they have to pass them tiny, and they have to fight for them and make sure that they don't go against anything written in here.
And everyone that they try to do is going to come up against a Supreme Court issue.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna have to go straight to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is going to have to be able to determine whether or not
Supreme Court of Florida.
Yeah, whether or not that this particular violation or this particular, situation is now in a violation of their constitutional right.
Yeah. Because it doesn't say you can't smoke it and then go drive in here. So my constitutional right is I can smoke it and drive. Can't I? I mean, I don't know if that's already technically illegal. I'm sure it is, hopefully. But would this nullify that? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a legal expert, so I'd be very curious.
Is that it does cause impairment. So, there's laws against driving while impaired.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that would still constitute as a DUI under those same legalities, but I'm not an attorney or a lawyer to know for sure.
If we have any out there, weigh in, because I'm very curious.
But like I said, you could be anywhere. You could be on the train. You could be on the Bright Line, and what's to stop people from saying, well, it's my constitutional right? They could probably,
And you really think that the 21-year-old thing is going to stop kids, high school, college?
No, they all get fake IDs now.
Right. I mean, come on. This is going to have a massive increase. It's going to have an increase of impact on workforce. How are you going to, as an employer, say, you can't do you know how this would work? Because you're an employer.
So for right now, we're a drug-free workplace. And when the medical marijuana passed in 2016, that was the question that came up. Like, can you still enforce drug-free workplace with an employee that has a medical marijuana card? And the answer was yes, we can. We can remain a drug-free workplace. We can, subject them to substance testing that includes marijuana, and we can decline employment or terminate employment if they fail that drug test. I don't know how recreational marijuana, because this is a constitutional amendment.
That's the question.
And I'm telling you, I was talking to one of my friends at church a couple weeks ago, and he had a small business, like a pool service business, and since sold it. But we were just talking about how this amendment specifically would impact, impairment at work, auto accidents, workers' compensation claims. Like all of that would increase, because when you come to work impaired, it just increases the chances of near misses, of accidents. And we're a drug-free workplace, but I'm telling you, these guys, they get hurt. I mean, it's just a fact of life. Like, you are in a physical labor market, and your guys are going to tweak their shoulders. They're going to hurt their low backs. They're going to, and then you put in a substance which impairs the ability to think clearly and quickly, and things just go wrong.
Yeah, this could be very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely puts employers at a higher risk. I mean, our car insurance, all of that kind of stuff.
And car insurance is already going sky high through the roof.
Exactly.
Vote no.
I heard
I said I wasn't going to give my opinion, but now I am. Vote no.
So I pulled up the full text of Amendment 3. And there, like I said, the ballot summary is one thing, but read the full text of these amendments, especially 3 and 4. But
Especially
there are limitations. There
We'll get to
like
that in a
there is a
minute.
section there is a section, section C of Amendment 3. Now it's let me see. Nothing in this amendment prohibits the legislature from enacting laws that are consistent with this amendment. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
It means whatever they want it to mean when they go to do something.
Now, it does say here, nothing in this section shall permit the operation of any vehicle, aircraft, train, or boat while under the influence of marijuana.
All right, that answers that question.
So you cannot drive while impaired. Let's see. Nothing changes federal law. Duh.
Just say no.
Nothing in this section shall require any accommodation of any on-site medical use of marijuana in any correctional institution or detention facility or place of education, employment, or of smoking medical marijuana in any public place.
Wait, repeat
But
that
this
last
is
part?
medical use of marijuana. So there's restrictions on, or there's protections for medical marijuana in these limitations section.
But it's not for medical marijuana. It's for
I know.
It's so screwy.
But you can still get your medical. You can
So
still
I
qualify for medical marijuana usage.
Yeah.
Right, but if it's recreational, why do you need to do that?
You don't.
Right. So why would that be even acknowledged?
But I guess it would determine whether or not it was for, let's say you were at work and you got into an accident, like you hurt yourself on the job. If you were a recreational user, that means that you are not being responsible because
I guess if you're a medical card holder,
it's more of a medication, and that you should have informed your employer that, you were on medication.
Now, something that Diana just brought up in the chat, like all of the small hemp businesses in the state are very much against this bill.
because it would
Because
take them
they'd
out of
be out of
business.
Yeah, it would effectively cause them to shut down completely.
So yeah,
because-
so big business. I mean, come on, we are trying to get away from this whole thing. It's not the party of the big business anymore. Let's not do this.
And I've said this once, I'll say it again. If you've got John Morgan from Morgan & Morgan as one of your spokespeople for your, what you're trying to get passed, if that's who you got, championing your cause, I'm automatically voting no for it. Automatically voting
Automatic no. Shunned.
Yeeted.
Yeeted. It's a no for me. It's going to be a no for me, dog.
I mean, the biggest thing for me was knowing that we would be the number one producer, seller, and grower of
That's
marijuana
not
in
a state
the
that I want to
world.
raise my kids in doing
the
that. Sorry.
world.
No.
In the world. That's what we're going to be known for. Not the
Free state of Florida.
correct.
Not the
Correct.
beautiful beaches. It's going to impact tourism for
Yeah.
sure. For sure going to impact tourism because there are a lot of people who come here and they don't like the way. Listen, I spent a week in a state where it is legal and it stinks. And it's a beautiful state. Gorgeous. It stinks. Everywhere you go, it stinks.
Yep.
So the new logo slogan for Florida would be Florida where the weed grows.
Free.
Where the weed grows free, yeah. No, you can't because you can't
you
even
can't.
own
You
plants
can't
and
even-
you cannot
make your
grow
own.
it.
Oh, yeah.
You can't grow your own.
So they want to make it so that it is purely big business for marijuana uses as well. So you can, I mean, in Michigan and I think a few other states where recreational marijuana is legal, you can at least grow your own plants.
Yeah.
I think you're allowed 3 or 4 plants or something like that. Where here, you're not even allowed your own plants. You can only purchase it from an approved supplier.
One supplier.
One supplier.
This is like such an insane.
It's not
thing.
this
So if
amendment
you don't
has,
like their product, you may want to
this amendment
consider-
has nothing to do with liberty. It has nothing to do with
No.
personal
That's correct.
freedom.
It has to do
it's
with
not
making
libertarian.
corporation a crap ton of money.
It's all about big business and giving all of this revenue and business to one corporation.
And we have a surplus in the state, so it's not like we're like dying for funding.
Yeah,
and
we
this
don't
is
need the
something
money,
that we're
bros.
trying to do to be able to bring income into the state because we're struggling. That's not happening. We have millions of dollars in surplus. We don't need it. This could be done better if that's something that people want to work on. But this in the way that it is, it only benefits
One person.
the top 1%.
yeah.
And everybody is voting no on this. As far as like a lot of our Republican leaders, the RPOF is saying no on this. I know that President Trump and a few other people said yes, but it's also coming out that they may not understand the full aspects of it.
Because I love how they pull that card. Are you voting yes on this? Dude, don't you think the guy's got a lot of stuff going on in his head? Like,
Right.
oh, yeah, I know exactly what amendment you're talking about.
Right.
I just got
Maybe.
shot at, but sure.
Maybe he'll find our handy-dandy amendment guide, and he'll take it to the
That's
ballot
right.
box with him.
Oh,
That's
I
right.
mean, he is going to vote in Palm Beach County.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
All right, so
Okay.
are we ready to move on to 4? Am I reading 4?
You can read 4,
Go-
Abby.
go for it.
Okay.
it. Sorry.
So Amendment 4 is the amendment to limit government interference with abortion.
Government interference. Wow.
So here's the ballot summary. No law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's healthcare provider. This amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor has an abortion. The proposed amendment would result in significantly more abortions and fewer live births per year in Florida. The increase in abortions could be even greater if the amendment invalidates laws requiring parental consent before minors undergo abortions and those ensuring only licensed physicians perform abortions. There is also uncertainty about whether the amendment will require the state to subsidize abortions with public funds. Litigation to resolve those and other uncertainties will result in additional costs to the state government and state courts that will negatively impact the state budget. An increase in abortions may negatively affect the growth of state and local revenues over time. Because the fiscal impact of increased abortions on state and local revenues and costs cannot be estimated with precision, the total impact of the proposed amendment is indeterminate. The financial impact of this amendment cannot be determined due to ambiguities and uncertainties surrounding the amendment's impact. A yes vote would enshrine access to abortion with no restrictions in the Florida Constitution. A no vote would keep Florida laws regarding abortion as they currently are.
Okay. So I'm going to give a little bit of backstory on how this amendment got to the forefront of what we're dealing with. So for a very long time in the state of Florida, I don't know how long, but a decent amount of time, we had a restriction on abortion after, not a decent amount of time, after Roe v. Wade was overturned. We implemented a restriction on abortion at 15 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So no abortions are allowed beyond 15 weeks. In the last legislative session, no, not this year, last year in 2023, a bill was put forward to change that to 6 weeks. From what I hear, rumor on the street is nobody thought the bill would pass, but it did. And I personally believe that the governor pushed it through because he was running for president and he wanted to pad his presidential resume and show that he's very strict on abortion. Because of that, the knee-jerk reaction was it went to court, it went cuckoo bananas, the state exploded, and an organization formed to now give us this. So just remember, legislatures, bills have consequences, and now what went from 15 weeks with you still having the ability to change things could now go to up to birth with you have no ability. So good job. That being
sarcasm noted.
Yeah, sarcasm hopefully noted. Now, that being said, personally, my personal stances, I'm incredibly pro-life. I believe that life begins at conception, and each life is ordained with a plan and a purpose by an almighty creator. I do, however, understand that politics is downstream of culture, and until we change our culture, this issue will be a divisive wedge and will cause a lot of problems until we come to a culture that demands no abortion because it's horrific. That's my personal opinion. So there's the personal and then there's the political conversation.
Well, the political apparatus has desensitized us to human life.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to say it's a clump of cells, it's this, it's that, or the other. And my personal views on this is I was a single mother at 18 from a domestic abuse relationship. I gave birth 2 weeks before my 19th birthday. I was in a horrific situation that I don't recommend for anyone, but I still would not have aborted my baby. Like my parents told me when I told them that I was pregnant, unmarried, 18 years old, get rid of it. I couldn't do that. everything in my body was like, no, this is my child. What are you talking about? It was an accident. Like I wasn't planning on trying to get pregnant, but this is where we are, and the world's a better place because she's in it. And I look at it like, hey, if I could do it struggling at 18 years old with really no financial support, no parental support, things of that nature, it's bringing a life into the world is an amazing, beautiful thing. And sometimes, I do sit back and kind of go like, I'm thankful of that experience because it taught me to grow up really fast. And I probably would not have been as successful and living the great life that I have if I didn't have her at such a young age, because it got me to grow up really fast. But that's just my, that's my personal aspects of how it affects me personally, because I was given that choice and I could have easily made that choice, and was encouraged to do so. So it takes guts and it takes strength to find yourself in a situation where you made a mistake and that there's consequences for it for the rest of your life. And
good and bad.
Good and bad, exactly. I mean, this world is definitely a better place because my daughter is in it. No, hands down. And so the biggest thing for me with this is the definitions. There are no clear definitions on what these words means as far as like healthcare provider. What does that mean? Does that mean your podiatrist can tell you? Does that mean that a medical assistant can tell you? What does that mean? Also, viability is an undefined term.
There's no scientific term for viability.
No.
That's not attached to a certain amount of weeks. It's not attached to anything.
Right. And they're saying, viability, we think of it as that can live outside of the womb without...
I mean, that's like the logical process, but what does that mean?
Right. Because technically any child isn't viable because they need to be cared and nurtured for after they're born.
You can't just... Bleh.
Right. If you don't take care of it, there will be the baby will suffer. So is that considered viability?
I don't know. 2 years old? I don't know.
Right.
I have a question, Abby.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused for both of you, all of us, but since you're looking at it, if you could help me figure.
I'm actually looking at the contributions to the committee that filed this petition.
Yes.
So I'll get to that after your question.
All right. So it says here, hold on. This amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require notification to a parent or guardian before a minor is born. So it sounds like
notification is different from consent.
Ah, okay. That's the change.
Yes.
Because right now you have to have consent.
You have to have parental consent.
Yes.
For a minor to get an abortion. But this amendment would change it to just notifying the parent that the minor is having an abortion.
Before or after?
Before. It says in the
a minor has an abortion.
Yeah, it does say before.
Does say
yeah.
Before,
but there's a difference. You're right. There is a difference between notification.
This would be the only...
Is that leaving like a voicemail message and saying, well, you were notified?
Yeah.
This would be the only medical procedure in the state of Florida that would be legal to perform on a minor without parental consent. This would be the only medical procedure.
Which is going to increase human trafficking.
I was just going to say, which we are one of the number one,
areas
for human trafficking. So this would then make it very easy for them to stay in business and less downtime.
Yes. And
so
yes, let's go.
So if you go to the Florida elections website, they have the ballot initiatives. They have that's where the link to the full text for each of these comes from. They have the sponsor, and you can click on the sponsor, and it takes you to their Division of Elections page where you can go into their campaign documents. You can go into their filings, and just I pulled all contributions, like all time periods. And I'm only 3 months in because I think this started in April of 23, which was the close of the legislative session last year. They immediately started this. And literally in the first 3 months, over $1 million poured in from a whole bunch of different Planned Parenthood chapters. Mm-hmm. Florida Rising Together, which is like a far left progressive political action committee here in the state. There's a whole bunch of ACLU foundations that poured money into this. SEIU out in New York City, just a whole bunch. But the Planned Parenthood, I mean, they have consistently just scrolling down. And there's a lot of grassroots, like $10 here, $25 here, because So, there are people out there that they want this. They
Because
wanted
they're
this to
being
get on the
told-
ballot.
They want this to get on the ballot, but it's being sold to people. This is the problem. It's being sold to people as
emotionally.
it's emotional because, oh my gosh, look at the title. Amendment to limit government interference with abortion. That's emotionally triggering right there for someone who believes in the right to have an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And you're hitting on, especially because we have a lot of retirees down here, right? So Florida's obviously huge. We have a huge influx of families, but there's a lot of retirees. And I got asked the question today by someone, is this a conversation at like a retirement home that might be going to visit to talk to campaign at or wherever? And I was like, yes, because you have to think about the age group of those women in that retirement home are the ones who lived through the 60s and the 70s
They were
and
the boomers.
fought. They fought to get that abortion passed, to get Roe v. Wade, and they celebrate, and they've had the right to have an abortion. It's a women's rights thing that they have fought for, and they look at it as now their rights are being taken away. Even though, obviously, they're all past the age of needing one. They are looking at it for their daughters and granddaughters, great-granddaughters, I don't know. And they're like, they look at it as an emotional regression and a political rights regression. And so if we understand that that's what they're looking at it is, then we can talk about that and say, okay, but because a lot of the things is women are going to go to have back alley abortions and they're going to have this and well, you know what?
Well,
What does this mean?
that-
Healthcare provider.
That comes down to the safe, legal, and rare, right? That's what I grew up with, is that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. That,
Not up to the point of birth.
Correct. So it's like your last, you have no other options. And, I keep hearing and seeing these, these crazy commercials.
Oh my gosh, my kids are asking me now because we have a vote no sign in our front yard, and they were watching something and a commercial popped up for a vote yes commercial, and they're like, "But we're voting no on that, Mom. We saw the sign." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I am not ready to have this conversation. You guys, you're 8." Like, no, I was like, yeah, well, there's a lot of people who disagree on things.
Yeah, that it's like, a doctor can go to jail for helping a woman trying to save her life.
That's not true.
None of that is true.
None of that is happening. And also, by the way, there's not, for the record, I'm going to just put the record out there, not a single sane person, which we're all sane here.
I'd like to think I am.
I mean, sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Most of
the
the
people
time.
I have to deal with
Comparatively.
make me feel a little crazy. But.
Yeah. But a woman who's having an ectopic pregnancy and has to go in for a procedure to have that taken care of, or a woman who's had a miscarriage and has to go in for a D&C, those are not abortions. And anybody who's telling you that the Republicans are trying to stop women from having health care because they're having an ectopic pregnancy or they've had a miscarriage, are stopping women from having women's health care because of these things, is not true. It's lies. Those are lies. Because abortion, by definition, is the killing of a fetus. It is a stopping the life of a fetus. Outside forces stopping the life of Fetus also means baby in Latin. So, baby. Yeah. So, by definition, abortion is that. So, ectopic pregnancies, miscarriages, those are not. No one's not getting care because they're having that. And the doctor's like, no, sorry, I can't perform an abortion because I'll get arrested. What planet are you all living on? Come on. Freaking idiots. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
There's two things that are also like national news that kind of dives into this that people will understand. So first of all, there was an article that came out. Republico, not Publico, but one
ProPublica.
Republica.
ProPublica.
I can't.
Struggling
can't.
tonight, y'all.
I even had coffee. There was an article saying that a Georgia woman lost her life because she was unable to get abortion care. Now, the evidence is that is wrong. She was given chemical abortion medication, missed her appointment, and got septic. And died because of that.
She died from a botched abortion, essentially.
She
They
didn't
gave her the
go
drugs
in
and she-
to go get the DNC in time, and
No,
so
she-
the remnants became septic.
So yeah. Oh, that's. I mean, don't
So
get me started
now-
on chemical. On like the.
So now they're highlighting
Prednisone or
this
whatever.
and tying it to this in Florida, basically saying that if we don't pass this, that is what's going to happen to all of our women in Florida if we don't pass this and say yes.
Wait, okay. She got the pills sent to her, or she picked them up from the from the pharmacy, goes home, takes the abortion medication to abort her child at home, which, by the way, I think is one of the most insane, dangerous things for people to do. Like,
And insensitive.
Insensitive, but like just dangerous. Like, you're just gonna have a medical procedure done by a pill at home by yourself with no one there.
And there's a lot of contradictions with these
contraindications.
Yeah. With these medications.
I mean, that's a whole other conversation.
Right.
It's just the concept of that is mind-boggling. So she does that, and then she doesn't go in to have the remnants removed.
She misses her appointment.
And she dies. And now they're trying to say that that's going to happen because she didn't do what she was supposed to do in order to have care.
Right.
It's her own care.
Which is part of our whole thing here in Florida is that it's like you should be educated. You should have to understand what you're going through and what it is.
There's a lot of laws. There's a rant that I go on all the time.
Yeah, I love what you have to say because it takes the emotion out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it takes whether it's, women's rights argument, the religious argument, it's let's treat this like similar businesses.
Like a medical procedure.
Yeah.
If you want to. And then, for those who haven't ever heard my list, I think some of these I've pulled from other people and put together, but there should be a waiting period. But Florida doesn't have waiting periods. Some states have them. You have to wait 24, 48, sometimes 72 hours.
You have to give the information, get the information, absorb it, and then come back.
So I think we should have a waiting period. I think we should have full informed consent, meaning that you have to sit down with a counselor and they have to, by law, walk you through the process of what is going to happen to your body. We're going to insert this. This is what's going to happen. This is what happens to the heart. This is what happens to the brain. This is what happens to all of the things, because you should have the knowledge as a patient of what is going to happen to your body, if you want to call it your body. Yes, it's another body, but anyway. Full informed consent that you sign. And if the doctor does not have that, the doctor is then, liable for not giving you, just like any other informed consent that you get for a procedure.
Just think of what you have to sign off at,
to have your gallbladder removed.
Or picking up prescriptions at the pharmacy. You have to sign the little screen that I've received instruction or, guidance from the pharmacist on these medications.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You have to do that. I have to do that to pick up my freaking thyroid medication every month. Why don't they require that for this?
And then it has,
you're literally ending a life, and they're not requiring.
And the
this.
woman, your body, when you go, it's not just like taking a medication. You don't just take a pill and all of a sudden you're good. Obviously, she took a pill thinking she's fine, and then she didn't. This is a medical procedure that is done on your body. Yeah, come on, people. So I would love to see that. Mandatory mental health counseling required before and after the appointment. Mm-hmm. Full liability for the doctor to swear that they know that the woman's not being pressured. Some type of liability there. I don't know what the correct legally is for that, but this would help with human trafficking. This would help with minors who are being pressured by their boyfriends, by their parents to do this, to make sure that it is the patient's decision, not anyone else's. And then finally, a death certificate and the remains to be disposed of. This was one that you talked about a lot. So to be disposed of the way that any other human remains are supposed to be disposed. Mm-hmm. So no selling.
No selling of the remains.
Yeah, once you take the organ harvesting off the table, once you take the fetal cell tissue off the table, you limit all of
nobody will want to put money
the
into
medical
this.
Uses for
you
it.
think Planned Parenthood's dumping money into this because
every single month, hundreds of thousands of dollars was
they
donated by various
just
Planned
they want to kill babies?
Parenthoods every single month into this committee?
You think they're doing it just
for
because
over
they
a
want
year.
to kill babies? No, they're doing it because their ROI is going to be insane if they can get this passed.
Right, because a lot of people don't understand that the abortion industry is ran by the medical pharmacy industry. So all of that they're able to dissect and use those fetal tissues and all of that kind of stuff to create medications. And vaccines are a big thing about it. I used to have this printout that was I probably still have it somewhere, what isn't a vaccine, like formaldehyde and monkey embryos and
calf heart blood.
Yeah, all of this kind of stuff that you're like, you would never inject in yourself in a million years if you saw it. And so it's like, this is where that comes from. So if you take that off the table
And
for
in
them,
in that ingredient is the ingredients that are the same that are human fetal tissue cells.
yes,
So
especially the COVID vaccine. It was,
the COVID vaccine
was
have a
it was
lot.
in there too.
MMR.
Yep.
Chickenpox.
Yep. So that eliminates all of that. And then there was another thing that I saw that was very interesting. It was I saw a couple women do it actually. They were videoing themselves and they called an abortion clinic and where there's no limits on abortion. I think it came up because of the fact that Trump was fact checked on his debate.
Quote.
Right, that there's nowhere in the country that it's legal to kill a baby or have an abortion up to birth. So a couple women called a couple of these clinics, said that they were 32, 34 weeks pregnant, and they literally described the procedure over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
They said, well, we would inject medication into the fetus's heart to get it to stop pumping, and then you would be dilated, and then you would basically be given you would have to give a partial birth. So is what I didn't understand is it's like, even if you say that you're going to have an abortion or killing your baby, you still have to go through the birthing process.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't you advocate to keep that baby alive and give it to somebody who actually wants it?
There's a lot of people who want babies.
Already have to go through the birthing process.
It's insane, but it's happening.
Exactly.
It's happening.
That's what I'm saying.
I spoke to a woman whose daughter is a nurse in one of the states that they allows it, and she sees it. She's had her friends have had patients who about 39 weeks.
That is the desensitization of life in general, and that scares the hell out of me.
This is personal to me. I was born 7 weeks early. I spent 30 days in the hospital when I was born.
I didn't know
Like,
that.
yeah.
I was sick when I was born too.
And like I was fully developed. Like I didn't have lung problems. I was just born 7 weeks early. I was 4 pounds 1 ounce when I was born.
So tiny.
Like my mom has pictures of me in my baby album. Like the preemie baby diaper in the hospital was so big on me, and to think that like they would allow women to abort a baby that can be born. I mean, there are babies now that can survive
Like 21 weeks.
22 weeks. I mean, so like the fact that this is being allowed.
The fact that it's even being discussed and debated is that it's downstream of culture, and our culture's very, very, very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, this is a hard issue for everyone, and this is how they change our society very quickly, is by creating laws and amendments like this, constitutional amendments, whatever you want to call them, to continue to desensitize us for global control. I mean, I know that sounds like crazy.
Okay, tinfoil. No, I'm just kidding.
But that's exactly.
We just took a left turn.
I know, but this is exactly how it starts.
Go to the crop circle and go right. No, I'm
Right.
kidding. Sorry.
It's like it's just a complete desensitization. It's it's calling one thing something when it's something completely different. This is not women's reproductive rights. That's
or
not,
care. This is not women's
care.
reproductive care. I got a survey asking me, "Do you support women's reproductive care?" And I was like,
"Yeah."
That's a trap question. That's like, when did you stop beating your wife?
Right. And thank goodness to to some of the organizations in Florida, because they are trying to combat some of this
Misinformation
for abortion commercials and stuff. I have seen one like that we spend like almost $1 billion, I think it was, on reproductive care for women that pregnancies and their families that are in a situation that maybe have an unexpected pregnancy. There are resources money available to you,
and there are families who want to adopt.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is not the only option.
Yeah.
Killing a baby is not the only option. It should be the last option possible, and you will feel like I've had so many friends that have had abortions that it has destroyed their lives.
It changes. It
changes you.
It does.
It definitely changes you.
I want to say too that shoot, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say yeah. So, and then I really think that going back to the specific thing here is, and what our control over it is educating people about the issues, and if you're talking to somebody who you think might be more pro-abortion, they'll say pro-choice, but pro-abortion, a way to discuss it with them is concerns over the word viability. Say, well, do you support abortion up to the point of birth? Most people do not. There are more who do now, because now that's the left's talking point. Mm-hmm. But most moderate Democrats or moderate people are like, no, not really. They go back to the safe, legal, and rare, up to 15 weeks or up to the second trimester, or whatever it may be. However they want to term it. Say, okay, so remind them, say, this says viability. If you cannot define viability scientifically, or it's enshrined in the law, then it's going to be up to anybody's decision. And that's a concern. And then anybody can determine it. That's a concern. So bringing it back to what you can walk out with this and talk to people about and say, and it is very concerning that a minor at high school could go to the school nurse and say, I'm pregnant, and that school nurse could take her to have an abortion without the parents consenting to it. They might find out right beforehand. By the way, Mom, this is what I'm doing. Click. And now that girl goes home from school having her whole life completely changed, and the parents they have to deal with the aftermath. Mm-hmm. Like, these are serious concerns. So if we want to bring it back to how do we talk to people about this, those are some key talking points that you can walk away from it if you're talking to people who are more, leaning towards more the pro-choice. And say, listen, if you are more pro-choice or pro-abortion in this case, this isn't the way to do it.
Yeah.
Right? We can say no to this. It's poorly defined. This is not the way to do it. We can go back to our legislatures and say 6 weeks doesn't work for us as a state. I want my legislature to write a bill to push this. And there are ways to change. We have the power to change the laws in our state, both through this as well as through lobbying our legislatures. So if we don't like this becomes enshrined in the law. We will become a destination point for people to come and have abortions. Mm-hmm. Is that what we want Florida to be known for? Come smoke some pot and have an abortion.
Well, this is how they destroy the red states,
yes,
right?
This is how they do it. That is exactly what they're doing.
Illegal immigrants.
Well, we keep shipping them out. So they realize that they didn't work so well.
They keep coming back, though.
They keep coming back. But so, all right, should we move on? I hate that one.
Yeah, like I said, it's about the definition of it. There's always going to be opposite sides, and we understand that this is a hot button issue, but for anybody who is the best way to it's not properly defined. And
let's vote no and go back to the drawing board with our newly elected legislatures in 2025.
And please look at the full text of the Amendment 4. It's like literally a paragraph. There's like the medical marijuana one, I think, was 3 pages.
Yeah.
This one is like, that's it. And then it just opens the door.
Yeah.
And I believe that if we're going to go to a spiritual side of things, I believe that there will be judgment if we.
Oh yeah, for sure. God hates us. God hates us.
That will be that's a no. That's pretty much it's essentially. Listen, I'm Jewish. It's essentially what the Israelites did.
They sacrificed their children to Moloch.
Sacrificed their children to Moloch, and God was not happy and punished them for a really, really long time, till now. Still being punished. So. Let's not do that. Let's just learn from history.
Let's learn to celebrate life and understand that not everybody is born in the perfect circumstances, and we all our country is so great that everybody has amazing opportunities, no matter how you were conceived or who your parents are.
Yeah. Amen.
All right. We're halfway through. Let's power through.
Oh my gosh, we got to get a rock and roll on. All right, do you want to read more, or are you done with reading?
I can try, but
you can do it. You again. Do it.
Amendment 5, annual adjustments to the value of certain homestead exemptions. The ballot summary, proposing an amendment to the state constitution to require an annual adjustment for inflation to the value of the current or future homestead exemptions that apply solely to levies other than school district levies, and for which every person who has legal or equitable title to real estate and maintains therein the permanent residence of the owner or other person legally or naturally dependent upon the owner is eligible. This amendment takes effect January 1st, 2025. A vote yes would allow the homestead exemptions to be adjusted for inflation. A no vote would keep the homestead exemptions the same as current.
Yeah, so just a brief summary of where we're
Please
at
do.
now. So on your property tax bill, there are two exemptions on like county, city, all the special districts. There's 2 sets of $25,000 flat exemptions. School board only has 1. So what this is saying is that they're going to be able to annually adjust those non-school board exemptions for inflation. So they could go up. I don't know if they can come down below the $25,000 threshold, but the school board is exempt from the
Exemption.
not from the exemption, but like they can't adjust that one for inflation, so it would just stay at 25,000. So, but what this is going to do, and you know, I wear 2 hats in this equation because I'm a homeowner, but I'm also an elected city official. This actually, you know, if inflation is high like it is right now, your exemption is going to go up, so it's going to reduce your assessed property value.
So less tax.
So less tax going to the county and to the cities and the special districts,
Okay.
which I like paying less tax. But as a city official
What's the
that
problem?
just signed off on the budget, you know, the budget just passed last night, which, you know, we're stretched thin. We've got a lot of infrastructure projects. Like we already don't, you know, we don't have a real big commercial district in Lighthouse Point. So we don't have that commercial revenue.
And a lot of your tax-paying revenue residents
Are
are
homesteaded, yeah.
They're permanent residents.
So I can see this negatively impacting the local jurisdictions pretty heavily. Broward County doesn't need more money because they have a lot of money, but the cities.
cities.
And of course, the school board is the school board, and they're exempt from the inflation adjustment.
They're just like, give us more money so we can indoctrinate your children.
Right, for Palm Beach County, I came across
Beach County.
for Palm Beach County.
Sorry, I'm just kidding. Give her tongue twisters all night. Sorry, I love you, Jen.
I came across a Palm Beach Post article that for Amendment 5, those eligible in suburban Palm Beach County would see an average annual savings on their tax bill under the county portion of about $120. This was quoted by Todd Von Leeren, who's a county administrator for Palm Beach County. That's the tax cut part. But the county government, which uses those tax dollars to pay for services such as fire rescues and libraries and programs for mental health and homelessness, could see about a $37 million less of the tax money in 1 year. So like Abby was saying, like there's a government side to it, and then there's a repercussion, and then there's the tax saving side for
The homeowners, yeah.
Because if there's
homeowners.
less money coming into the government, then they have to cut services. That's how that works.
But the argument could be said. I mean, this isn't at the local level; it's at the state level. But like, if there's more money in residents' pockets, they're spending more money at the store. They're enhancing the local economy.
It's true.
I mean, there's arguments. The conservative in me says vote yes on this because it's going to reduce your property tax bill.
Tax break.
You know, the city commissioner in me is like, oh, that's less money for the city.
Well, I'm not a city commissioner, so
The RPOF is saying yes on
Yes.
this.
because they're conservative Republicans, vote
Right.
yes on tax, no on taxes.
Right.
Down with the taxes.
Right.
Taxation is theft
Yes.
So
into the ocean.
What?
I'm
We're dumping something in the ocean. We don't have a harbor here, so
Oh.
I mean, we have a harbor, but we're anyway.
And a lot of people don't understand our homestead anyway. You know, like if you're homesteaded, you only go up 3%. This just allows that additional, $25,000, to be
Non-taxable.
non-taxable.
Yeah. So
So
there we
like
go.
if your house, so it would be what? Like if your house is worth, $200,000, you'd pay $175,000 instead of based on $200,000.
Is that right?
The tax would be assessed on, I mean, technically for county and city, $150,000 because it's two $25,000.
Because there's one $25,000 already in
So
place.
one of the 25,000 then could.
I don't know if it's one or both.
Okay, so in theory, so let's say your house is $200,000 at an assessed value, And now
Currently, it would be
currently.
reduced to 150,000.
right. So with
assessable value.
this, it could be reduced to 140 or 135 or whatever, just based off of the inflation.
Correct.
So is it the percentage? Okay, is it real inflation or is it like Biden inflation, where they say the inflation is only this percent? What did they say? What did they
Let
say?
me
Is
see
that
what they-
9%? But
see the
groceries
full
have
text.
increased 50%.
Let me see what the
The
full
Biden
text is if they
numbers
put
or
like
the
a
real
specific-
numbers
Yes, exactly. Thank
that
you.
come out 2 weeks later.
Come out 2 weeks later. Or the ones that we see at the grocery store. I mean, when they come in and they tell me, I'm like, oh, inflation's only up like 8%. I'm like, excuse me, ma'am. Olive oil.
Abby and her olive oil, or not Abby,
Josie.
Josie and her olive oil.
So
It's
this is
because
what
it's the one thing I remember and I can measure in metrics.
this is what the full text says in section 2, page 2 of 8. The $25,000 amount of assessed valuation exempt from taxation provided in subparagraph A1B shall be adjusted annually on January 1 of each year, which is when your property's assessed. That's what the value is assessed. Each year for inflation using the percent change in the consumer price index for all urban consumers, U.S. city average, all items 1967 is like the base year 100, or successor reports for the preceding calendar year as initially reported by the U.S. Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics.
So it's basically-
So if the percent change is positive in the CPI, they're going to take that percentage change and they're going to multiply your exemption value by it.
Okay.
And it's going to go up by the amount of the CPI,
Okay.
by the amount of the percentage change of the CPI year over year. That's the formula.
Okay. So it's Biden. It's what's coming from the consumer, right? The pricing index. Okay.
Yeah, CPI.
CPI. All right.
All right, final state amendment on deck.
All right.
This is probably the one I understand the least.
Oh,
Me
goody.
too.
Me too.
Uh-oh.
All right. So I'll read it and then we'll please discuss if you have any weigh in.
Oh yeah, let me pull the chats back up here.
Oh yeah, did we have
we have any
anything on
comments?
that?
We
last
haven't had anything since Amendment 4. So
Okay. All right. Repeal Amendment 6. Repeal of public campaign financing requirements. So it's a repeal of something. Proposing the repeal of the provision in the state constitution which requires public financing for campaigns of candidates for elective statewide office who agree to campaign spending limits. What the heck does that mean? A yes vote would repeal the requirement for public financing for campaigns of statewide office candidates who agree to campaign spending limits. A no vote would keep the law the same. So let's clarify. Once we delve into this law, if you like the law the way that it is, vote no. If you want the law to change, vote yes. It's a confusing one.
So just the way that this reads. So statewide office, governor, attorney general, senators, they agree to campaign spending limits because they agree to campaign. That's what this is saying. If they agree to campaign spending limits, then it requires public financing for their campaigns.
What does public financing mean?
I think it means the state pays money for the campaigns.
There's a
Our tax dollars pay for campaigns?
There's a general funds for campaigns that state candidates are allowed to be able to request funds from.
Wait a minute.
So this would repeal that fund.
For federal case.
It
Is
doesn't
it just
matter.
federal?
No, I think it's
Is it federal?
No,
or
Any
it's state.
statewide
Oh,
elections.
statewide.
All
State-
statewide elections are federal elections.
Well, but
Except
there's
for the
also
governor.
Governor,
Attorney
Attorney General, CFO, Ag Commissioner, and
So from what I understand is it's
the
like
missing one.
so you don't have to self-fund. There's this fund available that you
from
can,
our tax dollars.
Mhm,
So
that
we
there's
are
a
funding
general campaign-
candidates. I don't like.
there's a general campaign.
maybe it
fund.
hasn't occurred. I don't know how often it's occurred in the recent past because maybe if the candidates don't agree to the limits, the campaign
They don't get
spending
access
limits,
to the money.
And
they don't
that's
get
what I
access-
understand. It
Uh-huh.
on my base limited purview of this that I've kind of looked into is that nobody uses it. So there's money that's going into this fund that actually nobody's tapping into because they're not going to
agree to spending limits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And that's why the RPOF is saying yes.
Just get rid of this.
Just get rid
okay,
of it.
but we repeal the requirement for public financing.
If
So
they
it's
agree.
a requirement.
they agree
Yes,
to the spending limits.
right. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I'm breaking it down. Like if repealing this would just take this category off the budget altogether.
Mhm.
Oh,
That's the way I read it.
anybody else have anything? Weigh in on this.
That it would just go away. We wouldn't allow.
What would happen
Public
to the money
campaign
that's
financing.
already in that account? Is there money in that? There has to be, unless no one's applied for the money, so therefore it's like they give it as needed. So is it going into like a slush fund?
Well,
Good
no.
question.
Usually, if it's a budget item, it has to be.
Well,
used
is it a budget
for,
item, or is that's what I'm asking?
Well,
These
I
are
would think
questions.
so because it's on.
I have questions.
It's
Maybe we can ask one of our state reps. Maybe they
yeah.
know.
That's a. Well,
We can try.
that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Mhm.
Peggy,
Chip.
help! Help! Yeah. So I mean, as long it sounds like a yes vote is probably the best way to go to save money.
It's not being used. Why should
Not
we be
being used.
paying state funds on this?
Why should our state funds go to fund candidates at all, regardless of what they agree to?
Well, I mean, before, like campaigns were millions and millions of dollars, I'm assuming that this was for, good candidates that had good careers, but not necessarily millions of dollars to run into a race that they could say, hey, I have this
the good old
option.
days when
Right.
people ran
Right. So it's like,
because of ideals and not because they
I'm qualified and I have, I don't have to self-fund and there's this campaign financing available.
All right. Well, there's that. There's Amendment 6. All right, Abby, you want to take on? All right, so we're going to jump into our referendums.
We're going into the county questions.
Why
So
don't you
this
take it away?
one is Broward County. I will cover the Broward County one. So there are actually, I think, 2 referendums on the Broward County ballot. The first one has to do with the Broward Housing Council. Can you imagine? There are 17 people on that committee for the Broward Housing Council. Can you imagine being on a committee of 17 people?
I know that Marcy.
How do you get anything done?
I don't
Right,
know. She's
right.
just so much talking.
Yes. I mean, I was on a committee last year of 10 people, and that was crazy. Add 7 more to the mix, and it's like, whoa. We're not going to talk about that one tonight because, I mean, we wanted to focus on one referendum item from each county. So the one for Broward County tonight is referendum question number 2, which is expansion of the Broward County Inspector General's authority. The ballot summary is amends the Broward County Charter to allow the Broward County Inspector General to provide Inspector General services to the School Board of Broward County and the constitutional officers of Broward County, tax collector, SOE, those offices, if the applicable entity, the school board or the constitutional officer, contracts with such Inspector General services. No, contracts with the Broward County office. Sorry, I skipped a line there. Contracts with the Broward County Office of Inspector General and with Broward County regarding such Inspector General services. A yes vote would grant the Broward County Inspector General jurisdiction over the school board and constitutional officers if said entities contract with the OIG for such services. A no vote would keep the school board under its own investigative jurisdiction. And let me just say right now that the school board has already voted to pass a resolution to contract for these services should this amendment pass.
That's shocking. Shocking. That's good.
I think there is a majority on that school board currently that
pass it.
That
Pass it now before it's too late.
Pass it before it's too late.
This has been called for since the grand jury back, I think, after it was like 2014, 2011. Not that grand jury.
Oh, not that grand jury.
Earlier, even earlier.
Man, Broward.
They're like the school board needs an external investigative,
They did the same thing here in Palm Beach County. Guess what Palm Beach County did?
voted it down.
They said, we don't want to be inspected by the Inspector General. We're going to inspect ourselves.
Well, that's what they've been doing.
These people are insane. They have almost a $6 billion budget here in Palm Beach County, and they inspect themselves.
Yeah. So
Sorry. Off topic.
So Broward County residents, vote yes on this ballot
Yes.
summary, but on this referendum, it is past time for the school board to come under the jurisdiction of the Inspector General.
Amen.
And for the Inspector General to investigate
all the things.
the administration, the district as a whole. I fall under the Inspector General's jurisdiction as a city commissioner. So they can come in, like I have ethics requirements that go through the Office of Inspector General every year. We were discussing in the commission comments last night, like we have to get 4 hours of ethics every year, and 2 of those have to be live in person, and you got to submit it to the OIG. So let's get the school board accountable. Let's get the school district accountable to the OIG as well.
Amen.
Yep.
And amen.
And amen. All right.
Palm Beach County referendum.
Palm Beach County. You want me to read it, or do you want to read it?
You go for it.
Okay. Palm Beach County, question number 1. Palm Beach County schools, security, technology, facilities, and infrastructure, 1/2 cent sales surtax. Ballot summary. to support educational opportunities for students by upgrading and enhancing safety and security of schools, classroom technology and equipment, school buildings, facilities, and school buses for Palm Beach County traditional public and charter public schools, shall the school board levy a 1/2 cent sales tax surtax beginning January 1st of 2026 and by law automatically ending December 31st, 2035, with oversight of all funds by an independent committee of citizens and experts. A yes vote establishes a 1/2 cent local sales surtax beginning January. A no vote will keep the local sales surtax the same until it expires at the end of 2025.
2035. There's a typo there.
Oh,
It's a 10 year. It's a 10 year. Yeah, I just.
So December 31st,
35.
Yeah.
I had 2025 in the printout at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, a no vote would keep those. No, it would expire.
It was
Oh, you're right. Because right now the
Yeah.
1 cent sales surtax is half school board and half county.
No. Yes and no.
Yes.
Yes. It's half county, half school board, quarter county, quarter municipalities if
That's
you live in
true.
a municipality.
Okay.
That's true.
Okay.
So a while ago, most of you Palm Beach County residents will remember we voted to give ourselves a penny sales tax. They called it the penny tax. And it was supposed to be for either a certain amount of time or up to a certain amount of dollars with very restricted usages. So half a penny, as we said, goes to the school board, quarter goes to a municipality if you live in a municipality, and then a quarter to the county or half to the county if you live in the county. And it was supposed to be for roads. What else? Infrastructure.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah.
The Palm Beach County is specifically for infrastructure. The Broward County penny tax, which passed in 2018, is solely for transportation.
Right. So Palm Beach County actually
There's
should
only
consider
7.
that.
There's only 7 allowed categories under state statute for the local surtax to be passed for. One is infrastructure. One is
roads,
transportation.
right.
Indigent medical care, which is what Broward County was trying to get that
Oh,
cardiac
yeah,
screening
the
passed
heart
under
thing.
a few months back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways,
So they created it. They gave it to us on the ballot to be either to a certain amount of time or a certain amount of money, whatever came first. Well, they got the money a lot faster, and then the county commission decided that they didn't want to put it back on the ballot. They're good with not taxing the people more, but the school board said we want the money. So that's where we're at.
And then they're selling it is that it's not going to raise your taxes because you're already paying it. So instead of it going down because this has, and let the current penny sales tax to expire, they're like, no, keep giving us that
half penny.
That half penny.
It's just a little half penny. It's not much. Again, I'll remind you, $6 billion budget. 175,000 students.
And whoever tells you that this is going to help with teachers' salaries, it's a
not.
lie.
It's specifically not.
It spells out that it cannot go for teachers'
And don't forget, in 2022, the school board asked us for more for a special taxing, a special thing that we're already paying. A bond or I don't know, something where they're getting more money from us. And they sold it to us as saying, oh, well, you have to do it or there's going to be no mental health services for the teachers. $6 billion budget and you can't find mental health services for the teachers? Bull crap.
Yeah.
I call bull.
This is irresponsible. This is an irresponsible ask, in my opinion, just because of the fact that our school budget goes unaudited, it goes unchecked. We've definitely talked to teachers and people who have really kind of delved into the school budget. There's so much administrative cost. Our
The teachers are not getting paid the
Right.
money.
It's administrators.
It's all
middle
administrative. It's all
and
administrative
programs.
costs.
And programs.
And then they're going to start coming to you and saying, well, we need to upgrade our schools and our schools are falling apart. So we have to make sure that we're holding our school boards accountable now to the budget that they have and make sure that they are being responsible in those capital projects that are up and coming with a lot of our schools starting to deteriorate because they're old.
Yeah. And I mean, they need to plan ahead. They need to think they need to be fiscally responsible. And I think that's something also I think we should be pushing our legislators to be doing to look at maybe writing some bills that would force audits of school boards that have a certain threshold of amount of money ratio. Like, look at it. Money ratio to student ratio. And if it exceeds a certain percentage.
There goes her
I
pen.
threw my pen. I haven't even written anything with it. I just hold it to give me something to concentrate my energy into. If the percentage hits a certain threshold where you're spending more per student than makes sense, like whatever, formulas, audit.
Yeah.
See where the money's going.
Well, this is instead of looking at the credit card bill and seeing like what you can take off, it's like, let's just raise the limit.
That's exactly it. That is exactly the way this is
And
done.
the crazy thing is,
Give me an increase.
and the crazy thing is like I see this
Get my pen.
I see this in like my financial coaching realm, where you can't out earn stupid spending decisions. You just can't like there comes a time where like and it's like you can't out tax stupid like
Bad
bloated
spending. Right. No, you can't.
Like at some point the district is going to have to, and it's the same thing in Broward County. They're going to have to tighten their purse strings. They're going to have to make cuts.
And you know what they're going to do? They're
Well,
going to
well,
cut.
in
They're going to cut
Broward-
art, and they're going to cut band. And say we don't have the money for those things. You
No,
need to give
like,
us more money.
in
Well,
Broward-
that half cent won't cover those things.
I'm just saying they're going to ask
in
for more money.
Broward, they're literally going to close schools and sell off the properties.
Wow.
Crazy. And don't forget, just as your reminder every so often, that the largest taxing district in your tax bill is the school board.
Yep.
So even if you do not have students in the school district, you still pay taxes into the school district. So you might want to pay attention to who's going to be on the ballot for your school board elections, because we do have one here in Palm Beach County, here in South County.
If you're in Broward, you're SOL because those happen in August.
Those happen in August, which is another plus, going back to the original thing of more people will vote.
Yeah.
If it's partisan. But voting on here in Palm Beach County, we have 2 districts that are in a runoff. And don't forget to do your research and know who to vote for, because they won't have an R or a D in front of their name. So make sure you know the right one. And talk about this. They're going to sell it. They're going to sell it. There's signs popping up everywhere all over Boca. Half penny. It's not that much. And here's all the reasons why you need to do
And
it.
it's, and I get it. Like, it's only a half penny. It's not that much. And it's already there. You're already doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's an easy sell for them, especially for those that aren't paying attention.
No, but
Instead of-
hold them accountable.
I hear you. And that's exactly what, this is a great opportunity to do that. But us Republicans are guilty because of the fact that they play on, but it's for the kids. It's for the
But
children.
it's not.
Children. No, it's not. It's for their over. I'm going to remind you also, just for the record. I mean, our superintendent. Do you know how much our superintendent makes? His salary?
Between $300,000 and $400,000 a year.
Yes. That's twice as much as the governor of this, and that doesn't include his car allowance, his security,
I was just gonna say his security.
his paper allowance, his office supplies allowance. I think a car service. Did I say that?
You said car allowance.
Car allowance. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
really
let's
bad.
start with that.
You know, it's like he is running the largest employer in the county, correct? So you could say that, but at the same time, is he running it that well?
Not if they keep needing more money.
Look, I work for a very large company. I mean, I think we're like $50 million last year. So a big company. And like, if I went in there and was like, like, we're a $50 million company. Let's buy this and spend money on this. No, I'm still looking to get the $25 late fee removed from the invoice. You have to be budgetary responsible regardless of what the money that you're bringing in. Like, why waste money when you can make a call and ask for a fee to be removed? Or, this is a program or a service that our students don't need. Like, nothing ever gets cut.
How much crap are we paying for that they do not use?
I know.
They decided to try this app, and they're paying probably for the development of this. That app didn't work. It took our data. So we're going to use this one.
Right. Like, twice a year, I try to go through all of my credit card statements, all of our bank account statements to see, like, what's recurring charges.
Yeah.
Like, do I still use this? Is this something that I need?
How many channels are you subscribed to where you're only paying $5 a month?
Exactly. And I'm like, we don't use that anymore. Like, I canceled Hulu. I'm like, we haven't used Hulu in like 6 months.
I had a client
whatever.
refer to those as vampires in the bank account.
Oh, I like
Yeah.
that.
That's
That's
exactly
a
what
good
they
one.
are.
I need to do that.
Yeah.
'cause I think
But
we
it's
have
like
some-
our school board and our county officials, our municipalities, like, they don't do that. They don't look at these programs and things that we've necessarily been funding, and a lot of times they don't get questioned.
Yeah.
Do we have any comments?
Nope. Nothing new.
Questions? All right. So once again, we kind of formatted this episode a little bit differently than before. So if you tuned in kind of late, welcome. Please like, share, and subscribe. But we are going to be clipping this episode into little pieces based off of each amendment or ballot measure that we discussed. So that way you have a smaller portion to share out with your family and friends. Or if you want to go back and review a specific amendment item, you can just watch that clip and not have to sit and listen to us yammer the whole time.
Why not?
I ask that question too. I'm just trying to provide options for the people.
I just want to say, pay attention, pull your sample ballot, and see what else is on there. In the city of Lighthouse Point, we have 7 charter review amendments on the ballot. And I was not aware of this until last night. We were talking about it at the end of the commission meeting. But there was a law passed in the last year or two by the legislature, who never asked the and then questions.
Nope.
But municipalities, cities, governments, they cannot spend money on electioneering. So if they can't even, like, if they use like MailChimp or Constant Contact or, a paid email service to email residents that sign up for their city newsletter or whatever, they can't use that to even inform the residents about the proposed amendments. Because it's a paid, they pay for Constant Contact, and it's electioneering because they're talking about stuff on the ballot. So they can, like, the city can put on their website that we have a special election coming up because those amendments are they're not during our usual general municipal election in March. So, but they're important, and the commission and the charter review committee spent a full year discussing and formulating and proposing these amendments, these proposed amendments. And then the commission spent several special sessions at the beginning of the year reviewing the proposed amendments and, making some verbiage changes or whatever, making sure it fits into the, 75-word ballot, whatever. And I'm sure that that's the case in other municipalities around both counties. I know I've heard of other cities in Broward that have a handful of questions on their ballots. So as you look forward to heading to the polls in November or filling out your vote by mail ballot or however you want to do it, just educate yourself on your city and see what else is on there. And
it's good advice.
Go to the polls prepared.
Be ready and bring a friend. Make a plan to
Bring
vote.
10 friends.
Bring 10 friends. Call all your friends and say, how are you voting this November? Can I help you vote by helping you get to the polls or helping you with a voter guide or help you vote? You can't vote for them. I mean, we're not Democrats. We don't vote early and vote often. But we can help our friends who need it.
Yeah. We can help educate people a little bit better so that their self-governance isn't so intimidating when they go to the ballot box.
There it
is. Provide them guidance and help and give them, like, our show is resources. There's voter guides out there. Be sure that you're getting ones that that say that the disclaimers on them that says, paid for by the Republican Party of Palm Beach or Broward, check your disclaimers. Make sure that it's people that you trust, when taking advice as far as who to vote for and how to vote on the amendments. Thank you to Abby for doing this and putting the guide on the website. So don't forget, you can go to the website, WeTheLocalsPodcast.com. You can see the amendment guide, and there's a click-throughs to all of the ballot talk that we talked, so you can actually see the full text of the amendment. Was there anything else, Abby?
No, I think that's it.
And what about you, Josie?
That's all we got. It's all she wrote. Wait. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Next schedule for next month. Just a reminder, because it's not 1st and 3rd. Because of the Jewish holidays, which, by the way, shout out, happy holidays to all of those who are observing the Jewish holidays, and beep, beep, boom to all of our friends in Lebanon. I have been laughing a lot about that one. Yes. Sorry, I meant to talk about that earlier. Beep, beep, boom, to borrow the New York Post cover.
Oh, that's great.
So we will be at least having some happy moments during this holiday season, and still thinking of all of our hostages that are still being held in tunnels. So our next episodes, because of the holidays, are moved. And so we will be October 17th and then a special spooky Halloween. Spooky Halloween episode. So we will have Sam Stern October 17th. Please spread the word. More important than ever in light of everything that happened with Trump this week, that we have a state attorney who will hold to the Constitution and
Please-
charge criminals.
Yeah, please follow him on Facebook because he's been putting out some really good comments on what's going on and how he would address it if he was state attorney. So be sure to check
all I
him
got.
out and
Thank you.
follow him. I'm going to ask Stu to put up the camera to the TV because we do have an opportunity to have a QR code throw up there. So hopefully it works if you go through the TV. But you can follow us on Instagram at We The Locals FL. You can follow us at We The Locals FL on X and We The Locals on Facebook. You can check us out on our website at WeTheLocalsPodcast.com. Access all of our episodes and links there. You can donate as well. If you have any comments, questions, interested in sponsorship, you can email us at WeTheLocalsFL@gmail.com. Have a great night, everybody, and be sure to stay local.
Bye.
Bye.